my guest, Courtney Thomas Jr. So, Courtney, we left off about talking about your, skills as a coach and, how you relate with different personality types with your athletes. Speak more about your experiences out in Arizona as a coach. Let's talk to us about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was coaching out in Arizona, I coached a small youth group for Pop Warner football. We came second in the tournament. We really tried to win first, but we couldn't. And coincidentally, we lost to a team called the Chiefs, and we were the Giants. So it was kind of interesting. I'm a Giants fan from
Giants
New York, by the way.
Yep.
We're both Giants fans.
Yeah.
So I also was a head coach at a high school out there too. It was a prep school called Cicero Prep. I coached there for the cross country season. We came third in state. I really tried to get first, but we didn't have enough athletes and not enough people attended. But third, that season was pretty impressive for my first season coaching those athletes. I never coached cross country ever, so it was my first time. I coached others, like track and field for indoor and outdoor. So it was an amazing experience.
Okay, cool. So what other sports do you currently coach now?
I coach sometimes privately for track and field. I also coach privately for football.
Football. Talk to us about football, like making that transition from track and field to football. What are the differences between the two?
Oh, yeah. Depends on the position you're playing in football. I like to train my athletes to get into track shape versus shape in general, because if you're in track shape, you're at a whole nother elite level of shape for the regular athlete, even soccer, for example. So I train my athletes to not only to be able to run on a track in a straight line, but the agility and other movements and mobilities.
Lateral movement, quickness, explosiveness, all those things. So what skills are you currently working on as a coach? You just mentioned two different sports with two different dynamics, but very similar with the speed component. I'm sure that you're probably developing your skills in certain areas to hone in to coach better. What skills are you currently working on?
Definitely speed, how to kind of explode out from a start position, how to get down from one point to another point. When it comes to football, for example, I was a wide receiver for semi-pro for 2 years, around when I was 22 to 24-ish, for this team called Westchester Steelers in New York. And that kind of got me more into the habit of explosive workouts and why it's important. Why is it important to run faster and learn how to run efficiently versus just try to run fast.
Right.
And being a wide receiver taught me how to catch properly, what angles to catch, where to wrap your head around, and those kind of things. And that's how I was able to coach really well and get athletes up to par when it comes to wide receiving.
Okay. What about the conditioning, the differences between the two sports when it comes to the conditioning for football? Because you're having multiple stops throughout the game. But when you're dealing with for a sprinter, for example, a 400 meter run in the track, it's different types of energy systems that you need to tap into. Nice. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So as Oscar mentioned, there's energy systems, and a lot of coaches don't really understand that or know much about it. For example, I was a 400 meter runner, and you kind of like hone in more to the lactic acid, the aerobic energy aspect of it. So when you're going into short sprints, longer sprints, you definitely got to tap into different energy systems. For example, if you're doing wide receiving short burst aerobic exercises, your short burst and constant repetition with short rest in between.
So we're anaerobic.
Yeah. There you go. Thank you. And kind of like hone into those things by the easiest way I like to do it is like I'll look at a chart that I have, and it'll show you the regimens you need and what distances and what intensity you need to work out that athlete in a particular event.
Right. So you can just see the wide array of skills that's necessary to coach two different sports that have similarities with the speed component, but when you're talking about different energy systems and prepping them and conditioning them, it's a different ball game. You have to be able to take a sprinter to be able to utilize his power for short bursts, but then a 400-meter runner is tapping into anaerobic and slightly glycolytic energy stores as well. So we have to, be aware of those things. Where do you see yourself as a coach in the next 5 years?
It's a good question, Oscar. In the next 5 years, right now I currently coach at Conestoga Valley out in Lancaster County, because they have an avenue out here too. So I get confused sometimes. I'm the head coach for the girls team. In the next 5 years, I definitely see myself still coaching there. I love the program. I love the vibes I get. I love the whole array and the aura I get off of the program. And they have the same ideologies as me, where the one mission is to get athletes to not only intake what they're getting from the program, but impact others along the way. Right. And that sold me. It was like I was interviewing them in the interview, in a sense.
Interesting.
And to fast forward a little more, the next 10 years, my main goal, my ultimate goal is to have an indoor-outdoor sports complex for the youth. Kind of sort of like a open dome, closed dome type aspect.
That's huge.
I definitely want to do that. It's a vision that I have, and I'm not going to stop until I get there.
Yeah, you'll get there, man. Perseverance, for sure, man. And any support that I can give on the journey, man, definitely. So the iTrain podcast features a lot of different angles in which we talk about training. As explained in episode 3, we got more in depth on what the quadruple entendre is. So I have a few questions for you, Courtney. As far as the iTrain concept, the first, it's an acronym. So TRAIN has an acronym, TRAIN. The first T, talk to us about how you teach. So I teach what and how?
Okay. How I teach is, philosophical. I have to get into the minds of the athlete. I have to see how they think first before I can teach them how they can teach or perceive my message.
Okay. Can you give me an example of the teaching methods?
Let's see. This one time there was this athlete that couldn't understand A skip. Couldn't do it for the life of the person. And so what I did was after I was done with the drills with the other athletes, I gave everyone else a particular workout, and I pulled that athlete to the side and I worked with them. I wanted to show that athlete that they weren't alone. I was that kind of athlete where I couldn't get single leg hops because I was learning jumps. Yeah. And when my coach pulled me aside and broke it down to me and showed me that he was patient with me, that showed me that not only I can trust that coach, but I can push myself a little further because someone cares for me. Exactly. So I wanted to share that aspect too. So I broke it down. I said, can you skip? They said, yeah. I said, all right, show me. They skipped. All right, can you high jump? Not high jump, sorry. Can you do high knees? They said, yeah. All right, so let me see her high knees. They did the high knees. So I said, so A skip is essentially skipping and alternating a leg with a high knee in between. Right. And they kind of understood that concept, and they finally got the rhythm going, and then boom, I said, look, there you go. You got an A skip. And then just their face was, this is kind of what I do it for, just the facial expression that they gave was just enough for,
relief. Finally the aha moment, putting everything together. That's a very effective method of teaching, basically taking them from point A where they're comfortable at and slowly stringing them along step by step by step, and putting it all together. Okay, so the second one is the R, right? So we have T, teach, R, read, in a sense of what do you see? What are your eyes trained to see? What do you read for the intellectual and, just gathering information and to add some stuff to your toolbox as a coach? What do you currently read and how do you assess? Okay.
So how I assess, I was to start with that. A lot of times, athletes, after seeing, many great athletes such as Michael Johnson, Usain Bolt, everyone wants to be a sprinter. No. Not everyone has those fast twisted muscle fibers. Yes, they can be ignited, but it takes some time. So what I kind of harness into is seeing what the athletes might be capable of at the moment and kind of build them from there. Right. I have a lot of athletes that think that they are short sprinters when in fact they're really decent and not, if not better, at longer sprints. So I kind of have to see, and as a coach, channel in on that and kind of like specify their training on that. And I could build on that if they want to try another event.
Okay.
Intellectually, I read a lot of books in terms of building the mindset, because that helps me coach a little better. In terms of athletic books, don't really get on the reading aspect, but I do a lot of YouTube, a lot of internet webbing. There's a lot of information on the web nowadays with the touch of your fingers and the palm of your hands. I like to follow up on Michael Johnson, where he has his program out in LA where he kind of like breaks down the biomechanics of running form, and that's key to my coaching style, because if you can hone in on the biomechanics of and break it down, not only can you coach better, but you can show the athlete what it is that you're trying to coach them. And again, people have different learning styles. And if I can get that across to them, they usually tend to achieve better times.
Right. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. So the third one is the A, apprehend, which is another way of saying how do you understand things as you train.
Awesome. I'm more of a visual type of learner. I never understood things the normal way of people. I'm very analytical, if you will. And how I assess it is just basically watching what people are doing, seeing how they can learn too, and kind of like piggyback on, if this is how I learn, this is probably how they learn. If they're not getting for example, an A skip, let me break it down, and then I kind of like break it down like that.
Okay. It's a good way to understand things in smaller portions as opposed to a whole lump sum at once. Implement, the I. That's the I, the TRAI, implement. How do you implement, and what do you implement as far as your training styles, working with your athletes as a coach and also as a former athlete? What kind of things do you implement?
Definitely my own experiences as an athlete, what worked for me, what didn't work for me. I guess you could say I was a little bit of a complex athlete because I was mediocre. I wasn't always the best athlete, but I was willing to do more than the other athletes. What I like to implement is hard work. Hard work pays off. You can beat talent. I don't know if I'm saying it right.
Hard work beats talent every day.
And that's kind of like what the ideology is that I try to portray onto my athletes, because if you can kind of have that mentality, like a rest in peace, Kobe, the Mamba mentality, you can achieve anything. It's all a mindset. What can you grasp where you have a failure, and it's not what can you do to get to the next level. You're gonna always have ups and downs. You're gonna have great seasons. You're gonna have bad seasons. But how you perceive it is the ultimate goal.
Perception is everything, right? So you implement the Mamba mentality. Same here.
Absolutely.
And the last one is the N, nurture. Nurture in the sense of how do you grow and develop the athlete or whatever you're training. If you're training yourself, and there's phases to getting stronger. There's phases to increasing your cardiovascular fitness. There's phases to building up an athlete and building up your own physical capacities. How do you do that?
It depends on where that person is at the time of training. If the person already has a good cardio base, good strong core, I have to see where the person's strengths and weaknesses are at the beginning of training. Sometimes, depending if I'm personally training someone, I kind of have them do a part Q. Maybe some injuries that they may have had in the past where may hinder me helping them get to the next level, so I can kind of go around that and kind of tailor, if you will.
For those of you who are guessing what a PARQ is, Physical Activity Readiness Questionnaire is something that us fitness professionals use as a baseline to help gather health information and health history of the person that we're dealing with, the client or athlete that we're dealing with.
Awesome. So that's kind of the stuff I like to do. Just basically assess each person individually. Everyone's different.
Right. So to tie it all in, what is your philosophy or train of thought, on your training methods as a coach, and what would you like to leave our audience and listeners with today? Any message that's coming straight from you?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really big, as I said, on philosophy, and this one person that stood out to me the most was Confucius. And this quote I definitely want to leave you guys with is, he who says he can't and he who says he can are both right. So how you perceive something and how you look at something, you're going to be right either way. One more I want to
one more. Go ahead.
Wayne Gretzky. I'm a big a New York fan for every team. New York Rangers. He said you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, and you're 50% wrong if you never ask a question, and you're 100% wrong if you never try.
Good stuff, Courtney. Any kind of social media outlets that you have, any website, any kind of material that they can go ahead and follow you at?
Oh yes. You can look me up on Instagram, Supreme Court ___ And I mean, if you want to look me up on Facebook too, Courtney Thomas Jr. You can find me like that. And I'm going to be putting out some more content with personal training and stuff like that. So you can reach out to me like that.
Okay. Awesome, man. Thanks for having me come out here in the comfort of your own home. I appreciate it. Yeah, no doubt. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We got some exciting episodes coming for you. Stay tuned. This is the iTrain Podcast. I'm your host, Oscar Kimchika. Peace.